messages that uplift their community and help them live better lives. They respond. No medium reaches this coveted Black audience like KBLA Talk 1580. So, hit us up today at smb@kbla1580.com and let us help you connect with our loyal listeners. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black. Money to bud. Tabitha Smiley's new book, The Covenant with Black America, 20 years later, is now on sale everywhere. This classic text shot to #1 on the New York Times bestsellers list almost 2 decades ago. If you have the original book, you will surely want to get this 20th anniversary edition with powerful new contributions from today's leading voices. This 20th anniversary edition presents a compelling blend of historical insights and contemporary urgency in this critical and unprecedented election year. Get your copy of The Covenant with Black America 20 years later today.
HBD, Michael Jackson, Rest in Power. And we're pivoting this hour. We're going to talk health, always important, no matter what the season, even maybe especially during election season. Happy to welcome in a leader in the healthcare industry. She started out as a medical educator. She was a radio host for a satellite radio show. She was awarded the 2013 Friend of Mobile Care Award for her commitment to raising awareness of asthma in her home city of Chicago. She writes about health. She speaks about health. She posts about it on social media, offering inspiration, motivation, and business advice to startups and entrepreneurs. Dr. Renee Matthews, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for stopping in. And I just got back from your city of Chicago, had a great time. I'm not going to lie, I was inside the DNC and some other big parties, and I was thinking about our surge in COVID and all these respiratory illnesses that seem to pop up in even more intensely during fall and winter post-pandemic.
I was there too, and hopefully you are vaxxed up and everything, and you didn't come back with COVID. I thankfully did not get COVID either, but I heard a lot of people did.
Yeah, I mean, I'm guessing both of the conventions ended up. So far, no. I've been testing. So far, no. I seem to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, but are we being too lackadaisical? I mean, I know that you specialize in asthma, but that's a comorbidity. That's a pre-existing condition, right? That makes COVID, for example, worse.
Exactly. So I think that some people are being very lackadaisical as far as, maybe they only got the first vaccine. How many years ago was that? In 2021. So I think that those people probably, need to be extra, extra vigilant. And then, there were people that were wearing masks. And I think that I wear masks when I fly because I think that the space is just too tight of a space. And, it's just not enough air moving. So I wear a mask the entire time I'm flying, even in the airport.
Same, and I feel like I'm one of like two on the whole plane when
I agree. Yes, it is a rarity. And so I think outside of that, I don't wear a mask, but I've also, knock on wood, I've never gotten COVID. So
praise God.
I don't know why I think that I'm invincible. I don't know, but I think I've taken so many vaccines that I also feel very protected.
Well,
And there's a new one coming out if you haven't heard, so I'll be going to get that too.
yeah, the new one, which is supposed to be dealing with some of the variants that have cropped
The
up
newer
recently.
strain.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. So
Exactly.
and I've read in the LA Times that people are getting a really bad new kind of sick.
Yes. And I've talked to a lot of my colleagues that are in the hospitals, and the numbers are going up, and they are definitely seeing a spike. So I think that people should be very careful. I know also that if you work a very stressful job or live a very stressful life, your immune system is probably not hitting 100 right now. And that also will open you to not just COVID, but a whole lot of respiratory viruses that are coming up and flu and all of these other things. So I would highly suggest either you bring the stress level down or make sure that you do protect yourself, because you could get sick. When your stress levels are high, your immune system is low. So you could definitely get sick.
Yeah, so you mentioned the new vaccines and boosters, and I've seen the data on that. It's something like 13% in California that are up to date. And I understand why a lot of people don't, want to take them because, it seems like more and more and more shots. Some of us, myself included, do not want to get locked into a situation where we have to take a COVID shot every year. Um, and so I guess we're at a phase. Let's say you're one of the 78, 77% that have not been up to date. Can you jump ahead and take the most recent shot and skip over this, different boosters and things that you've missed so far?
So I don't know, because I don't have any information about the new shot yet.
Okay.
So I'm assuming. Don't quote me, but I'm not sure. So I'm not fully positive. But I think that only the first one was the one that was in 2 parts.
Right.
The rest of them, I don't think so.
Okay.
So I think you probably can. Just, if you wanted to start with this next one, you probably could, because especially since we just said it's different strains. It's not pertaining to the one from 2021.
So what is asthma? I mean, let's go to the basic. What is it,
Yeah.
and why do Black people get it so much?
So asthma is a chronic inflammatory disease of the airways that affects about 1 in 12 people in the U.S. Now, Black Americans, unfortunately, are 1.5 more times likely to have asthma and are 5 times more likely to go to the ER due to asthma than white Americans. And the reason, there's several reasons, but a lot of things have to do with environment. So in urban communities, you usually have roaches, unfortunately. Cockroach dander is something that can cause people to have asthma.
Ew.
I know. I personally believe the old buildings with the asbestos and stuff, I believe that probably leads to problems too. So I really do believe it has a lot to do with environment.
I mean,
And then also think about, cigarettes and all that kind of stuff.
Right. I mean, one of the things we're fighting in the city of LA, where I'm broadcasting from right now, is these oil wells right next to schools, parks, and communities where people live.
So your air is not good.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Air quality.
So, I mean, what are we meant to do about that? I mean, other than, keep your house clean and do your best not to have roaches.
Right. And I mean, so if you know that you have asthma, then you need to probably stay inside when the air quality is poor. And actually, ever since last summer with the from Canada, the fires, the smoke, I think Siri on Apple phones, she actually has air quality on there right with your weather. So you can check the air quality right before you leave your house. You can go online and Google. There's websites you can go to and check the air quality index. I know AllergyAsthmaNetwork.org has it. And check the air quality before you leave your house, because maybe you do need to wear a mask solely because of the air quality. If you know you have asthma and this is going to affect your lungs. In LA County, there's estimated 1.2 million people that have asthma. And statistically, about 60% of them, or 720,000 people, are not well controlled. So those are the people that specifically should probably check the air quality every morning before you leave your house and decide if you need to wear a mask today.
So if it's not well controlled, what does that mean? That sounds kind of scary, actually.
Yeah, so not well controlled means despite being on one or two medications that might be corticosteroids, which corticosteroid just means it's an inhaler corticosteroid means that it's an inhaler that has steroids in it. Not the same as the bodybuilder steroids, but
right.
And right,
it won't give you big muscles.
But they could still, exactly. But they could still experience trouble breathing, even though they're on all this medication. Still have trouble breathing, wheezing, and even shortness of breath. So that's somebody who has not well controlled asthma.
Yeah, my bonus daughter has asthma, so I've seen how hard it can be and how much it can impact their ability to do just about anything. So I would think that wearing a mask would make it harder to breathe and would not be good for folks with asthma, although I must say she's very meticulous about wearing masks at all times. Way more careful than I am. But you're saying that's an option for people who are struggling with asthma to help keep those particles and things out?
Correct. And, honestly, we saw a drop in flu because we were wearing masks because guess what? We weren't breathing everybody else's viruses.
Right. I mean, to me, that should be a no-brainer. Germs are germs. You wear a mask, you cut down on germs. Oh, look, I didn't get the flu. Why do we cover our mouth when we sneeze and cough? I mean, come on. To me, that's not rocket science. I don't understand people who argue against masks. If you don't like it, don't wear it. But don't make stupid arguments saying it doesn't work. Because why are we coughing into the crook of our elbow or whatever? Come on now.
And why do doctors and nurses wear them in surgery? Because they're trying not to get you infected with something.
Right, so you won't be dead when they cut you open, pretty much.
I'm not one that loves wearing a mask.
Yeah, neither.
Right,
me neither.
I'm not one that loves wearing a mask. But if you got, you used to do what you have to do, and I think that over time you get used to it.
I'm still waiting for that time.
Operate for 8 hours.
Yeah, I guess they must. I hate wearing them, and especially when I work out. But trust and believe, I had it on all the way to Africa. Was whatever that 20-something hours on that plane, because we're breathing recirculated air. I want to talk more about why it's hitting Black Americans more, what prevention looks like, and what we can do when we're beyond prevention to sort of bolster our quality of life. We're talking with Dr. Renee Matthews. You're welcome to get in the conversation if you have a question or you want to comment. It's 800-920-1580. We are KBLA Talk 1580.
Say the quiet part out loud. KBLA Talk 1580.
Don't settle for bumps, ingrowns, and itch due to dry skin. Try Venus for pubic hair and skin, the razor and regimen specifically designed for your pubic area. Featuring a razor with patented irritation defense bar and skincare regimen that is dermatologist and gynecologist tested. Venus helps protect your pubic skin from shave irritation. Discover the full regimen of products at GilletteVenus.com.
On your period, sudden gushes happen without warning. But now you can say goodbye to stand-up gush fears. Thanks to Always Ultra Thins with rapid dry technology. It absorbs gushes 2 times faster than the leading store brand and gives you up to 100% leak-free protection. Hello, clean and comfortable with Always Fear No Gush.
Tavis is under attack. I can't get his radio station on my transistor. I'm getting the Asian station that he's right around, but they're not letting KBLA 1580 come in. I'm not getting the black man. So let Tavis know he's under attack. Cyber attack, racist attack, fascist attack, but he's under attack. And they doing something to disrupt his radio station so they won't get the truth out to us.
Hey, it's Tavis. We appreciate all that love, let me tell you, because we may very well be under attack on all sides. Just because you don't believe in conspiracy theories don't mean they ain't after you. But in reality, sometimes stuff happens with the signal from the studio to the tower, which sends our programming to your car, home, office, or your transistor radio. you download the KBLA 1580 app, the sound is clear as a bell all day, all night, anywhere in the world, from Los Angeles to Lagos. So, we love all of our listeners, no matter how you hear us. But when you download the KBLA 1580 app and hear that richness, you'll wonder why you didn't do it sooner. But don't take my word for it. Download the KBLA 1580 app right now. I'm Tavis Smiley, and I approve this message.
Eggs are a staple in our diets, and there's only one egg with more delicious farm-fresh taste plus superior nutrition. Eggland's Best. With more vitamins, including 6 times more vitamin D and 10 times more vitamin E, plus 25% less saturated fat than ordinary eggs. Available in so many delicious varieties. Classic, cage-free, and organic. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
Thanks for waking up with Dominique DiPrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
Thank you indeed. I do appreciate you talking with Dr. Renee Matthews. She specializes in both asthma and allergy. She's been featured in Ebony and Essence magazine, was a contributing writer for Good Enough Mother, Essence, Madame Noir, and Black and Married with Kids. So much to unpack. You say this is asthma peak season. What does that mean?
So September is asthma peak month because that is the time that we have 3 different things. Fall allergy and asthma triggers like ragweed and mold. Those numbers go up. Cooler weather means more exposure to indoor allergens like dust and dander. And then there's an uptick in circulating respiratory diseases, of course, because the kids are going back to school.
Right.
So this is a time of this they call it the peak month because this is when there are most hospitalizations and ER and doctor visits due to asthma, and especially during the 3rd week of September.
Now, you say Black folks are 5 times more likely to go to ER. Why is that?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
so unfortunately, we figured out, especially in COVID, it really made a big red flag. There are a lot of Black people that do not have a primary care physician. So If you think about it, if you don't have a primary care physician, then you definitely don't have an allergist or a pulmonologist, which are the 2 specialists that you could pick from to see about asthma and allergies. So if you don't have that and you're using the ER or the urgent care as your doctor, then that's why.
Yep. Well, I have my theories about that. Sounds like, but here's the thing. Are allergies and asthma, you're a specialist in both, are they related? Because I always feel like when people are telling me they have allergies, I haven't had them since I left the Bay Area, that there's really, doesn't feel like there's much they can do about it. It would take some Benadryl and be nodding out at work. But is there prevention and help for folks with allergies, and how is it related to asthma?
So there is definitely a correlation, and you should and there is things you can do about it, which is why I highly suggest you visit an allergist or pulmonologist. I am not an allergist or pulmonologist, but I have an allergist that I visit because I am a severe asthmatic and was born with allergies and asthma. And so, and I called myself a doctor at 10 years old because I had been through a lot and probably more ER visits than the average person by 10.
Wow.
So, so I really think that you definitely, if you are somebody who's walking around miserable every year at the same time of year, then you probably do have allergies, and you should definitely visit an allergist so you can figure out exactly what those triggers are. Because the best thing to do is avoid your triggers, and if that's not possible, there's different immunotherapies that they can give you to help you to build an immunity to whatever you're allergic to. I had allergy shots as a child, and because I am allergic to ragweed, I'm allergic to mold, I'm allergic to grass, I'm allergic to dust, I'm allergic to dogs and cats.
Wow.
And when I tell you that I don't have a problem with these things now because of those allergy shots.
Interesting.
So I highly suggest you visit an allergist.
Isn't everybody allergic to mold? I mean, mold is just bad, right?
Yeah, this is true. Yeah, of course. And it's bad for you, especially if you keep inhaling it, especially at black mold. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. We could do a whole show on that, but not today.
Right.
So talk to me about prevention. I mean, I think this is my personal thing. I'm a health enthusiast, and I feel like we rely too much on hospitals, emergency rooms, please bring me back from the dead, when there are things we could do to prevent these diseases or flare-ups. I mean, you mentioned stress management as one of them.
Yep.
What else should we be looking at?
Like I said just now, please make sure that if you recognize it's something, that you have a cold that's lasting for 2 weeks or something, or they keep telling you have bronchitis, but please find an allergist. And now telehealth is readily available even for allergy patients. So you could see a doctor via telehealth if your local community does not have an allergist, because unfortunately there are not enough allergists to go around the country. So you might be in a small town that doesn't have an allergist. So please visit an allergist, find out exactly what your triggers are, because that is the best way for prevention. The other thing is, if you were someone that was diagnosed with asthma, do not believe that you cannot exercise. Exercise actually will improve your lungs. But you don't literally run, don't just jump up and run outside and think, oh, I'm going to get better. No, you'll probably be sick as a dog when you finish. But if you gradually have a regimen that maybe you talk about with your doctor, or you have a trainer that understands that, make sure you have your rescue inhaler with you. You can improve your lung function over time with exercise. So definitely make sure that you exercise. That is going to help your lungs, but it's going to help your heart. It's overall going to help your whole body physical health. So please try to exercise. That is a great prevention.
I mean,
and like I said before, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, that's prevention for just about everything, not to mention a form of stress management.
Yeah, and that's just what I was about to say. Stress also is something that can bring on asthma attacks. I used to tell people I could have an asthma attack when I was really excited or when I was really sad. So if I was laughing uncontrollably for too long, I could start wheezing. Or if I started crying profusely, I could start wheezing. So you have to manage these emotions and moods, because they can bring on an attack. So those are the things. And also, if you have asthma in your family, then there is probably a good chance that you will have some form of asthma. It may not be severe, but it might be very mild. Unfortunately, there's been a myth that people outgrow asthma. You don't outgrow asthma. It becomes controlled. I've not had to take daily meds for 6 years now. My asthma is controlled. And just best believe, because it has happened, I enter an allergy season and I wasn't protected and I got sick. And I mean, got sick as a dog. And so I probably should have gone to the ER, but because I am a doctor and I have all the drugs and everything at home, I was able to take care of myself with my doctor. But yeah, my asthma reminded me, yes, you still are severe asthmatic.
Do you think there's a lot of kids running around that are undiagnosed with this? I think especially about, Black and Latino kids who may be, and low-income folks who may not be going to the doctor as much.
Yes. And that is another reason why I think that we need to get this education out there. Asthma actually costs the country $81 billion a year.
Wow.
So it seems to me that this should be something that's talked about a little bit more, because it is costing the country so much money. Now, I will tell you, here in Chicago, we have a van that visits these communities, goes to the schools. And on the van is an allergist and a nurse, and they're diagnosing these kids and treating these kids. And then there's another van that actually treats the whole family, but it goes specifically to communities of Black and brown people. But let me tell you, the reason that I'm here today is because I've partnered with Amgen, and they have a really fabulous website with amazing resources, luma.edu.com. So it's www.luma-edu.com. Definitely visit that website, because there's a lot of great resources there that can help you to figure out what is the doctor you need to visit. There's an asthma journal so that you can take notes when you do get sick, so you can take that information to your physician and they can help you figure out what's going on. And then there's lots of information about Peak Week.
Wow. Okay, sounds like a good resource. But I'm thinking about kids, if they're asthmatic and they don't know it. that, we might think they're faking sick or that they're being punks because they don't want to or unable to do things that they're being asked to do by a coach, teacher, or, relative. And it just seems like a miserable place to be as a child.
Yeah, and I mean, that's why it's unfortunate, but there's not enough nurses in schools, because that's where the school nurse would come in and be able to say, and be able to recognize that this kid probably needs to go to the doctor. They might have asthma, after they do whatever it is they're supposed to do in gym class, and the kid can't catch his breath for 20 minutes. That's too long. You should be able to catch your breath after a few minutes. But if it's taking a long time, then clearly something might be wrong with this young person's breathing. So that is really difficult. And like I said, unfortunately, as you know, the health disparities in our community and access to health care can be very difficult, which is why I'm really happy that because of the pandemic, we got more doctors on board with doing telemedicine. So hopefully, if there is no allergist near you, you can get access to one online. Right,
online, on the phone, on Zoom. There's a lot more options now for folks. But I'm also kind of saying it as, as a mom. My kid's already a teenager, but these are things we can look out for. I think sometimes we're quick to, yell at our kids. Why are you being lazy? Why are you being slow? Oh, you're faking sick. You don't want to go to school. And sometimes we could listen a little bit more and catch a few things that could, be prevented or at least managed if we got in there early and got some help. We're talking with Dr. Renee Matthews, and we'll continue this conversation when we come forward after news, traffic, and sports on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Vice President Harris and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz are joining CNN for their first joint interview. The pair will be interviewed by CNN's chief political correspondent and anchor, Dana Bash, in an interview set to air at 9 p.m. Eastern. The CDC says 6 more people have died from an outbreak of contaminated deli meat. Since May, 9 people have died and nearly 60 have been hospitalized by a listeria outbreak connected to Boar's Head meats. United Airlines flight attendants are approving a nationwide strike. The flight attendants Wednesday voted to approve a strike authorization if they don't reach an agreement with the airline. United flight attendants are demanding pay raises, job security, and retirement benefits. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Milo's Rewards members, they've got exclusive Labor Day doorbuster deals just for you. Right now, save $100 on a 10-foot animatronic skeleton, now just $129. Valid through 9/2. Program subject to terms and conditions. Details at Lowe's.com/terms. Subject to change while supplies last. Selection varies by location.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
A surprising outcome in the WNBA last night. The LA Sparks, the team with the WNBA's worst record, beat the team with the best record, the New York Liberty. The Sparks held on for a 6-point win at Crypto.com to snap a 7-game losing streak. They also snapped the Liberty's 8-game winning streak. Forward Jericka Hamby led the Sparks with 21 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, and 3 steals. The Dodgers got home runs from Shohei Ohtani and Teoscar Hernandez to hold off Baltimore last night. The Angels lost at Detroit. Their losing streak is now at 7. ESPN's popular First Take Morning Show will be broadcasting live from 3 HBCU campuses. September 20th at Howard University, the alma mater of Vice President Kamala Harris. October 11th at Tennessee State, the alma mater of Oprah Winfrey. And November 8th at Morehouse College, the alma mater of filmmaker Spike Lee. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer whenever I want?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. 94% of Sleep Number smart sleepers report better sleep. And now, during our biggest sale of the year, save 50% on the Sleep Number limited edition smart bed. Plus free home delivery on select smart beds when you add any base. Ends Labor Day. To find a store near you, visit sleepnumber.com.
As fall approaches, you have a lot to prepare for. back to school, sporting events, family gatherings, and staying on top of your health. The virus that causes COVID-19 continues to evolve. So this fall, no matter what you're prepping for, you can prioritize your family's health and make a game plan for COVID-19 vaccination. Ask your doctor or pharmacist to learn more. Sponsored by Pfizer.
You know where you want to go in life, and City National Bank can help. City National knows the dedication it takes to build your vision for the future into a reality, and our team is here for you. We have a wide range of options to help, from personal savings accounts to interest-bearing money market savings accounts and more, all designed to help you get where you want to go. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Learn more at cnb.com. City National Bank is a subsidiary of Royal Bank of Canada, member FDIC.
Support comes from Getty, presenting Memnon, a world premiere theatrical event under the stars. Memnon tells the tale of a powerful Ethiopian king who fights alongside Troy during the city's darkest hour. This epic Greek myth has been overlooked for over a millennium. Until now. Memnon is co-produced by the Classical Theater of Harlem. Thursdays through Saturdays this September at the Getty Villa Museum. Tickets are available now at getty.edu.
Eggs are a staple in our diets, and there's only one egg with more delicious farm fresh taste plus superior nutrition. Eggland's Best. With more vitamins, including 6 times more vitamin D and 10 times more vitamin E, plus 25% less saturated fat than ordinary eggs. Available in so many delicious varieties: classic, cage-free, and organic. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
Our daughter Jessie loves playing detective.
But since we discovered she has sensitive skin, we've been playing detective too.
We thought the problem was our puppy.
But it was actually our old detergent. So we switched to Tide Free and Gentle.
Tide Free and Gentle has no dyes or perfumes, so it's gentle on her skin.
If it's gotta be clean, it's gotta be Tide Free and Gentle. This back-to-school season, Tide and Downy are giving back with $1.5 million in scholarships. Enter to win. No purchase necessary. US/TC 17+. End September 30th. Rules. Tide.com/scholarship/official rules.
Hey, checking in?
This is not just your flu shot appointment at Walgreens.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is getting your entire family vaccinated in one trip.
Hey, Mom?
And a snack on the way out. Get flu shots for everyone in your family, together. Schedule appointments online today. This is wellness made easy. Walgreens.
Vaccine subject to availability and for ages 3+. State and health-related restrictions may apply.
We're not for everybody, but we're for everybody. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
Tell the angels hello. I don't wanna leave my baby alone. I don't want nobody else to hold you. That's a chance I'll take. Maybe I'll stay. Heaven can wait. No. If the angels
I forgot about that song. Aw, as we celebrate the birthday of Michael Jackson, we're talking with Dr. Renee Matthews. She specializes in asthma and allergy and is, continuing her mission to educate us. Sounds like really, really personal for you, having gone through what you describe as a child. Being asthmatic and having so many emergency room visits by the age of 10. And one of the things you noted is that for a lot of people, not breathing easily is just something they think is normal. It's what they're used to. They have nothing to compare to, right?
Yeah, and I hate that for people because that's not normal, and you should bring that up. You need to go visit a doctor and bring that up to them. You should be able to bring normal. So clearly, whatever medication you're on is not working, and it needs to be changed, or it's not a given that everyone understands how to take their medication. These inhalers, there's all sorts of different ones. There's different ways to take them. And if you're not taking it properly, that means you're not getting the medication, which means you would continue to have breathing problems. So maybe you don't know how to take the medication, and maybe someone never showed you. So it's really, really, really important that you take your medication correctly. But if you are wheezing, please bring it up to the doctor and say, I really can't breathe still. So what are we doing wrong? Because I'll tell you firsthand experience, I had an allergy trigger that I was consistently intaking every day, but we didn't know. It was soy milk. Soy is part of the nut family, and I'm allergic to nuts. So once my doctor figured that out, I stopped daily wheezing.
Wow.
So I had a wheeze that was like my baseline wheeze, and I would go to the ER when it got out of control because, lo and behold, my mother is actually a respiratory therapist, so this was kind of her specialty. So she would be able to take care of me, but when it got out of control, we'd have to go to the ER. But my doctor had given her home number, and she would be able to call her at the ER and say, can you let them know that Renee can go home? And they would say, but she's still wheezing. And my doctor would tell them her mom's a respiratory therapist, and she understands that wheeze is her normal wheeze. So if she says she's good, then she can go home. And sure enough, once I stopped the soy milk, I stopped the daily wheezing.
When we talk about prevention, I mean, diet, you mentioned exercise. I think nutrition is definitely underrated with a lot of our chronic diseases. I know it's not something that most doctors really specialize in, but for example, my bonus daughter, and for those in the chat that like, what is that? That's the daughter I got when I was married. When she stopped eating dairy, she noticed a big difference, not just in her asthma, but in her eczema. So is that different for everybody, do you think? Or do you think it's, the holistic doctors will say, avoid sugar, avoid dairy, avoid gluten, and you're more likely to have better overall health, along with some, autoimmune and other diseases. What do you say?
Well, she might have had a dairy allergy. I did, when I was born, I did have a dairy allergy, which is why I was drinking soy milk with my cereal. But dairy from the cow actually does cause inflammation. And once my mother, when I went to college, said, you can do dairy now. So I drink skim milk. But when I tell you, once I stopped drinking it, I recognized myself that I no longer all the time. I did not do that. Yeah. I had no more mucus at all. And so I said, oh my God, there is a huge difference. So now I'm an oat milk person. But the eczema also is very closely related with asthma and allergies too. And a lot of people realize if they strip away and slowly but surely add foods back, they can kind of figure out what food is causing the eczema to flare up.
You also mentioned stress management. Of course, I always say exercise, but what other kinds of stress management might we think about?
There's breathing techniques. Honestly, and the breathing techniques also help with anxiety too. Just taking a deep, just stopping and just taking a deep breath, count to 10 and blow it out. And there's all sorts of different ones. I actually did, for May is Allergy and Asthma Awareness Month. I did a reel every single day for the month of May. Wow. And there was one that talked about the breathing exercises, meditating, and yoga. Also very good for asthma.
Yeah, I can see that.
And stress management as
another thing that's very good for everything. And my yoga friends get mad at me, but I'm going to say it again. I don't like doing yoga because it's hard, but I feel so good afterwards that, it's worth it. So you said the biggest asthma week is the third week of September, but also peak asthma season, and I assume, allergy season is spring, right? Peak asthma season goes on for 3 more months?
Exactly, because that's when it's getting colder. So it gets colder, and so there are some asthmatics like myself, the cold air is not good for our lungs. So my mom taught me when I was younger, and I really didn't want to do it because none of the other kids were walking around with a scarf over their mouth and nose. But it is really important. Just like you and your yoga, I run in the morning. I don't enjoy running, but my body does, and I like the results. So therefore, I exercise every single day. But in the wintertime, I still do it, and I have a mask that covers my mouth and nose so that I'm not inhaling that cold air because it is not good for my lungs. And like I said, I might have controlled asthma, but if that air hits my lungs for too long, I will be reminded that I have asthma.
And it sounds like what you're saying is that during the peak asthma season, and I'm imagining during peak allergy season, we need to manage our health and well-being, especially for asthmatic, even more carefully than we normally would.
Yeah. yes, make sure that you're staying on top of your medications. It's back to school season. I always talk about this every back to school season. Make sure that you have all your prescriptions filled, because God forbid, if you live in a lovely place like I do here in Chicago and we get stuck in a snowstorm, the last thing you want to have to worry about when it's already going to be tough to breathe outside is the fact that you don't have your medication. So make sure that you've got all your prescriptions covered, and, you have everything you need. And talk to your doctor. An asthma action plan is the best thing for you. If you're a parent with a kid with asthma, if you are a grown person with asthma, you need an asthma action plan. And that plan literally dictates when it's time to take a different medication because you're not feeling good, or when it's time to call the doctor, or when it's time to go to the hospital. And it's really simple. It breaks it down red, yellow, and green, just like a stoplight. And we have a peak flow meter that you blow into. And so you have a number that is your normal, and then you'll see there'll be different numbers. The doctor will say, well, if your peak flow is this number in this range, then you need to call me. Or if it's this range, well, here's the new medicine that I need you to start taking this. Or if it's in this range, you just need to go straight to the hospital. So all of that is really important during that time.
Yeah. What about, post-COVID, for those who have had it? I think I've had it twice, maybe 3 times, because I say that because the first time we kind of didn't really know what COVID was, so I can't 100% confirm that's what it was, but I'm pretty sure. Then we hear about long COVID, and even if you don't have long COVID, diminished lung capacity and brain fog and things, even for folks who are not classified with long COVID. So how do we know that, we're at our capacity, or that our lungs are healthy in the perspective of allergy and asthma, if we're COVID survivors?
So that's another, like I said, that's another talk to the allergist. So there is a pulmonary function test that my allergist performs on me at least once a year. And it sounds like these people would benefit from getting the results of a pulmonary function test, and they could see, they could see what's going on. They probably didn't have one before if they didn't have asthma before, so they don't have a before to compare it to. But allergists know the numbers, and they can see the values, and they can say, oh, you definitely have lung damage, or no, you don't. The one thing, I know smokers, once they stop smoking, over time their lungs improve. So God willing, people that have long-term COVID, which of course we don't have the data on that just yet, because the pandemic technically probably is still kind of going on. So we don't have that data, but hopefully over time these people's lungs will improve. But, there is a center in New York that is like the long-term COVID center, and apparently they're doing a lot of research and treating people.
Last year, we heard a lot about RSV, the respiratory virus. Excuse me. That was, they were talking a lot about it in older adults, but apparently, I saw some research showing that it's linked to asthma in kids, and they don't know if one causes the other or the other causes one. As a parent, what should we be looking out for?
So that's the thing. Pay attention to your child's breathing patterns and sleeping patterns. Wheezing is really, you can usually hear it. It's a very audible sound. And most normal people are not wheezing. So if you hear that, and then there's croup also you have to pay attention when you have little ones too, which, is another sound that the baby could be making. So you really need to pay attention to the sounds coming out of your child. And if you notice, I will say also, I don't know why, but asthma attacks tend to happen at night. So if you have a child that's waking in the middle of the night and they can tell you that they're having trouble breathing, or you can visibly see that they're having trouble breathing, these are all signs that you might want to, get to the doctor and figure out what's going on, because it might be RSV or it could be asthma. And like you said, we don't know which one comes before the egg or the chicken or whatever.
Wow.
But yeah, it is something that we definitely need to look out for. And last year, you're right, was the first year that I really ever heard RSV being so many adults being affected by it, because really they usually do consider that something for children.
Talking with Dr. Renee Matthews. She specializes in asthma, allergies, what we can do about it. We're going to talk a little bit more about that asthma action plan or the allergy action plan for that matter when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
For all of us, this generation and the next, there is simply no place in our lives for litter. And yet, it's everywhere we look. And unfortunately, it does belong to all of us. So, let's come together and create a litter-free, clean California, once and for all. Remember to properly dispose of your trash and recycling. Secure truckloads with tarps to keep debris from flying out. Clean out your car when you're at a gas station. Take pride in your community by organizing a cleanup event. Or join a cleanup event near you. Zero litter is the goal. Join us at cleanca.com. That's cleanca.com. Let's do it together. Brought to you by Caltrans. cleanca.com.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer whenever I want?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. 94% of Sleep Number smart sleepers report better sleep. JD Power ranks Sleep Number #1 in customer satisfaction with mattresses purchased in-store. And now, during our biggest sale of the year, save 50% on the Sleep Number limited edition smart bed. Limited time. For JD Power 2023 award information, visit jdpower.com/awards. To find a store near you, visit sleepnumber.com.
Ugh, I've been feeling so sluggish. I'm just kind of blah.
Been there. That's why I take Align yogurt-coated probiotic fruit bites.
But I suppose they taste blah.
Actually, they taste delicious. It's an apple blueberry flavored center covered in a yogurt coating and is infused with probiotics to help support a healthy gut. They come 5 in a pouch. I just toss one in my bag and go.
Toss one in my bag?
Get your own.
New Align yogurt-coated probiotic fruit bites from the makers of the #1 doctor-recommended probiotic brand. Find them in the digestive care aisle.
With no fees or minimums and no overdraft fees, banking with Capital One is the easiest decision in the history of decisions. Kind of like choosing Derek Jeter as the pinch hitter for your baseball team.
Jeter, you're in. We need a home run.
I'll give it a try. I've swung a bat once or twice.
That's out of here. Yep, even easier than that. With no fees or minimums and no overdraft fees, is it even a decision? That's banking reimagined. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com/bank for details. Capital One N.A. member FDIC.
Girl, I have a secret. When I get stressed out, I get sweaty. That's why I use Secret Clinical Antiperspirant. It's like my own secret weapon. For 72 hours, I get Secret's strongest protection against sweat caused by stress, heat, and activity, because you know how crazy life can get. Plus, it's made with advanced odor fighters that don't just cover up smelliness. They help prevent it from happening in the first place. Believe me, if I weren't wearing Secret, I'd be a hot, smelly mess. Thankfully, Secret works.
The smarter way to clean your floors. It's time to make the swap. Swiffer Power Mop.
Introducing the new Swiffer Power Mop, the all-in-one tool that gives you a mop and bucket clean in half the time. The solution's built right in, so no heavy bucket, and the pad has hundreds of scrubbing strips to get deep into grout. Don't mop harder, mop smarter.
Swiffer Power Mop. Swiffer Power Mop.
Always night pads are designed for a perfect night's sleep, so you can do your bear hugging a pillow thing, your free falling starfish thing, your burritoed in a blanket with the AC blasting thing. While Always night pads with rapid dry do there, we've got your back with fast absorbency and up to 10 hours of protection thing. So while your period's doing its own thing, Always lets you do your sleep thing. Shop for Always in-store or online, wherever you get your pads.
The conversation continues right now with Dominique DiPrima on First Things First.
Right now, as we head into peak asthma season, in reading up on some stuff for this show, Dr. Renee Matthews, I was also noticing that triggers for asthmas, you know, you're talking about cold air and the winter season being tough, but also apparently the height of summer can be problematic also when it's super, super hot, when we're suffering from wildfires and the air quality goes down. So as parents, we really have to keep an eye on our children, especially if we know they have asthma, or if, as you say, we might not know, but we hear some wheezing or struggling with breath. And it's peak season now, but it sounds like there's lots of other times when we have to be extra vigilant.
Yes, because asthma triggers can be food, it can be environment, they could be pets, they could be anything. You really do, 365 days a year, you need to pay attention. Also, kids often, if they come back in from being outside and they're rubbing their eyes excessively, they're itching, they're coughing. These are all symptoms that they could have be allergic to something outside. So definitely pay attention. But yeah, excessive heat is not my friend usually.
So that means when you're taking yourself or your kids on a field trip or road trip into a new environment, a new kind of climate, all of those things are things we need to prepare for. So when you talk about an asthma action plan, what does that look like, and how can we get it together?
So the asthma action plan is something you talk about with your doctor. So your doctor will let you know, these are your readings on your peak flow. So every asthmatic should have a peak flow meter. And I know, unfortunately, due to health disparities and, of course, access, unfortunately, some of the people that need them don't have them. But if you can get a hold of a peak flow meter, it is the best tool. It's completely you don't need electricity for it or anything. You just blow into this tube and it's got numbers. And your doctor will say, these are your numbers, 200 to 300 is green. And then when you fall below that, that's yellow. And then below that is red. And so those different numbers are going to let them know when you need to start taking this emergency medication, when you need to call the doctor, or when you need to definitely go to the ER. Because the one thing about asthma is that it happens really fast sometimes. And if you are having trouble breathing, it just can happen so quickly. You need to hurry up and get some help. So.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so you mentioned the website. What kinds of things can we find over there?
The website is amazing. Like I said, it's www.luma-edu.com, luma-edu.com. They have downloadable resources. They've got peak week information, just all sorts of great, and the asthma journal, which I think is the coolest thing because the one thing, any doctor, not even just your allergy and asthma allergist and pulmonologist, but you need to make sure that you have documented what has been going on with you for the last year, if that's the last time you saw the doctor, or 6 months ago or whatever. And this asthma journal will help you to document, I ate such and such and this is what happened, or I went on a hike and this is what happened. My eyes turned red and got, swole or something. This is the perfect thing. You can write down your peak flow readings. So yeah, I'm really excited about the asthma journal, but yeah, definitely visit the website because there's amazing resources and downloadable resources.
And I mean, it sounds like what you're talking about in journaling, in monitoring ourselves and our children is really self-awareness and listening to our own bodies in a sense.
Exactly. And if you teach your kids to do that, can you imagine what kind of adults they'll be? So definitely listen to your body. I learned a long time ago what a wheeze was, so I call it my internal whistle. And I can tell you, I'm allergic to the smell of seafood cooking.
Wow.
So I can walk into someone's house and I'll say, my internal whistle is on. I can smell the seafood in here. It might not be cooking now, but you cooked it today and I got to get out. And so I'm very attuned. If you don't teach that to your children at a young age, then they probably won't have a clue when they're older. And unfortunately, there's a lot of adults that are coming up with allergies that they never had as kids, but now they have as adults, or they didn't know that funny feeling when they ate peanut butter, that funny feeling on their tongue was an allergic reaction. And now as an adult, it's gotten worse.
It's never too late to teach ourselves a little self-awareness of our own bodies, right?
Right. Right, exactly.
Yeah. Dr. Matthews, I really appreciate your spending some time with us. Is there something you want to emphasize on the way out the door, something that we really should be more aware of?
Yes, I really, really, really want you guys to visit this website. It also will help you create your asthma action plan on the site so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. And you can take this information to your doctor to make sure that they agree with it. But go to www.luma-edu.com. It is amazing, like I said, and please use the asthma journal. If you're someone that already has asthma, definitely use the asthma journal. If you're someone you think you may have asthma, use the asthma journal and then find yourself a specialist. It is so important that you actually visit an allergist or a pulmonologist, and don't let distance or something be a barrier. Find somebody who does telemedicine.
Because these things can pile up on one another, right? You could get asthma, then that's made worse by your allergies, or allergies made worse by your asthma, and then pile on RSV or COVID or just a regular flu, and you can find yourself in a life-threatening crisis if you're not managing it as you go, right?
Exactly, which is why it's so important. Knowledge is key. I think with anything in your health, knowledge is key. And if you know exactly what your triggers are, that's half the battle. And that is one of the most important things with your allergist, is to figure out exactly what is going to trigger me to have an asthma attack so that you can avoid that.
Dr. Renee Matthews, thank you so much for spending the hour with us. I feel a lot smarter.
I'm glad. And please, if anyone has any questions, you can always reach me at Ask Dr. Renee on all platforms.
Ask Dr. Renee on all platforms. I shall ask you. Appreciate the conversation.
Okay. Sounds great.
I like to leave with a quote. Today I'm going Deepak Chopra, because we were talking about stress management in these crazy times. He says, in the midst of movement and chaos, keep stillness inside of you. Tavis Smiley's up next. He has a great show on deck for you. Of course, as usual, we go hard all day long around here. Don't forget to check out Dr. Nicolai Corte and Ariva Martin in the afternoon. Of course, D.L. Hughley. We saw him at the stage in the DNC, but he's over here every single day. I'm Dominique DiPrima. Tap in with me on social media. DiPrima Radio on all platforms. We're KBLA 1580 on all platforms. History is now, and we are making it together. Until tomorrow with Friedman Friday. One love.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Mike Moore. 4 people have died from an outbreak of contaminated deli meat. Since May, 9 people have died and nearly 60 have been hospitalized by a listeria outbreak connected to